In this video, I'd like to talk about the equipment that we use to get logs to the road. Now we're running an M8200 Kubota. It's roughly 82, 85 horsepower on the engine. Prior to having this tractor, I had a 45 horsepower Kubota. Of course, both are four-wheel drive. The 45 horsepower was a decent tractor for what I was doing, but the clearance underneath, I was at about 11 inches underneath the crankcase, and the problem I had was working in the wintertime in the year that we'd get deep snow. I was getting hung up a lot with the smaller tractor. Now this tractor, as you can see, I've got about 22 inches of clearance underneath that tractor. That's the main reason that I went to the bigger tractor, was to get the bigger wheels, get it up off the ground so that I was clearing more stuff. Do you need a 85 horsepower tractor to work logs? No, not necessarily. I would say, in my opinion, from years, I've got probably 35, 40 years of working tractors in the woods. From my opinion, 45 horsepower is about the cutoff. You don't want to go a lot smaller than that. Now, the reason I say that, I've seen a few people around my area here that have 35 horsepower tractors and they go to the woods. Yes, they can get a couple of logs out to a twitch, but the problem with the smaller tractors is that they're light on the front end, and when you put much weight on the back and you start yarding, the tractor will have a tendency to rear up. That creates an unsafe, unsteady situation, and when the front wheels are in the air, you don't have the ability to steer or control your direction, and there's always the risk of a rollover. With the tractor size, I would say if you stayed above 45 horsepower and you've got something 45 to 80 horsepower, you've got a tractor that you can work with all day long and it's not going to let you down. Now, of course, if you're going to pile logs, you need a loader. Now this tractor has the quick attach loader, the A-low type, European type loader. I can take that whole loader off in about 5 minutes. I can switch attachments back and forth very easily. Now this set of tines that we have here, these were fabricated by ourselves once we bought the tractor. There's grapples, commercial grapples that are available for loading logs, piling logs. If you're a new beginner, new operator, I would recommend them for the simple fact that this tractor, of course, we've got the tines, you can stick underneath the log, lift it up, but there's nothing to stop the log from rolling back over on the tines. So you have to be aware of what you're doing. You have to keep in mind the fact that this has got to stay just a little bit off level as you're raising it up so that the log don't dump down over the back of your loader. Some people would say this is an unsafe attachment to use in the woods. I've had this one for 22 years without any accident. It's all in keeping your mind on what you're doing. These tines are 2 inch by 4 inch cold rolled steel, and there is a piece of 1 by 3 tubing slid up inside them. We taper them off to a point on the end so that they'll dig underneath the logs without digging into the ground too bad. All of this tubing is thick wall, 2 inch. Cross brace there on the sides right here. And this allows for the plates in the back here that go on our quick attach system to set on the loader. We got it all built, and then we thought, you know what, maybe it's not as high as what we'd like to have it. So we added this piece on the top here just to give it a little bit more height. Of course, on the back here we've got the quick attach plates right there that set on the loader frame. This is a fairly simple design to make if you're good at fabricating. If you don't do fabrication, of course, you might want to consider one of the grapple type attachments for piling logs. A loader, of course, is essential on a woods tractor if you're going to use it for doing any kind of logging or piling stuff. You don't want to pile stuff by hand, really, you don't. Chains is another thing that's essential on a tractor if you're working it in the woods, especially in the winter time. We don't always run chains in the summertime. Usually we take them off. But the chains give you a lot of grip on tree roots, stumps, frozen ground, icy patches. And here on the farm where we are, if we didn't have chains, we wouldn't be able to get too far at all, because everything on our farm is up or downhill when you're leaving the farmyard. You've got to come up a long hollow there, and to get into the woods, we wouldn't make it in with a two-wheel drive or without chains on. A canopy, of course, the ROPS on the back, rollover protection system, that's essential. Keeps the tractor from going all the way over on top of you. If that ever did happen, we made this roof here, fabricated that to bolt on just to keep the snow off. It's not really a protection, although it will keep limbs and such from falling down. Just brought it down and bolted it into the frame of the tractor. And that windshield, because we didn't want something that was going to cost an arm and a leg if you get a frozen limb through it. That windshield is actually the hatchback off an old Hyundai Pony. Cheap, but effective. It keeps the snow off of our laps when we're driving. Next piece of gear that you need, if you're going to move any kind of wood, you need a logging winch. This is one of the Friends Guard. I've had this one for about 30 years, I think. Still going strong. This is these things are well worth the money. Of course, they've more than doubled in price from the time I bought that. I paid $2,500 for that brand new in 1990 or 91. I think that same winch right now is about $5,700, $5,800. These chokers that we use, coming around here, it's got a clevis. Easier to see this one, I guess. We get a clevis on there for the chain to go through. We use 70 grade 3/8 chain. We have, I think we might still have a couple of 5/16 here. Most of these are 3/8, and we make them in 6 and 8 foot lengths. There's a pick on the end. What this pick does is it makes it easier for getting the chain underneath the log when you're in snow or in the dirt. It just gives you something you can stick through underneath. You can see on the other side of the log, so you can pull your choker through. And the chains and the clevises are 70 grade transport chain, transport rated, so that we don't break so many. I think when the winch came, it had 550 grade 5/16 chokers on it, and I snapped every one of them in multiple places. They just didn't stand up. The 70 grade, I've never broken a 70 grade choker. Another thing we have here, just going to hang this on the box. We have a couple of these short extensions. If we bring a log up and the choker is short enough so that it's not really long enough to attach right up to the winch, then we put these short extensions on, and it just gives us another 18 inches of chain going up onto the winch. Safety wise, there is only one issue I've ever had with this winch. Years ago, probably 12-15 years ago, I was winching in some logs, and the power takeoff shaft actually snapped. The universal joint snapped in it, and the top half of the shaft come flying out through in this direction here, and went probably 15 feet down through the woods into a brush pile and 3 feet of snow. Had quite a bit of digging to find that. So if you're using these, because that power takeoff shaft rotates in this direction, coming around this way, I do everything I can to not stand on this side when I'm winching in. Standing on the other side of the winch, If the power takeoff shaft ever breaks, if I'm standing over there behind the left tire, the shaft is going to fly away from me. The other thing to watch is when your logs are coming in, when they're getting in close to the tractor, make sure that you're back out of the way. That's what that orange rope is for there, that engages the clutch on the winch. You're able to stand back well clear of the twitch so that you're not getting a foot jammed between the winch and the log. That wouldn't be so good. Break an ankle pretty quick that way. Is a tractor and winch necessary to get wood out? If you're going to make it pay on a small wood lot, on a homestead operation, a farming operation, I would say yes. If you don't want to go to full-size cable skidders, or something that you're going to put $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 into a 30-year-old machine just to get something to work with. There are ATV products that you can use for moving logs. There's arches that can bring 1 or 2 sticks at a time. I've seen videos of machines used over in Sweden, other parts of Scandinavia. There is bogey wheel trailers that are designed for moving pulpwood, and some of them work fairly well in open ground. If you take a look around here, it's pretty difficult to go anywhere here with any kind of a four-wheeler to do anything in the way of work. The woods is just too thick here for that to be a viable alternative for us. In my mind, the ATV is okay for a hobbyist, or if you're going back to gather up a little bit of firewood. But if you're putting your mind to making some money off your wood lot, an ATV is far too low a production machine for you to do anything with. And so our ATV is transportation back and forth. 2 of us come on the tractor, and the third guy drives the ATV in here. And we use that if we have to run back and forth to the farm for something quick. But other than that, our ATV doesn't move wood. We've got this. And in my mind, if you're going to make it pay, if you want to get enough wood out to pay your salary, to pay your expenses, to make the world go round, you've got to have enough power underneath you to get the job done. So that's the equipment that we use. Of course, my cutter just brought the PV and stuck it in there. Those PVs are essential if you want to do things, getting your logs moved around. Something goes behind a stump, or if a tree needs rolled a little bit one way or the other in order to get it down, if it's caught in the top. A PV is pretty much essential equipment in the woods. So that's a look at what we use in the woods for our operation. It has worked well for us for, like I say, almost 40 years of tractor logging, and made a lot of money with them. If you keep your roads clean, keep an eye to what you're doing so that you're not forcing your machine, you're not trying to yard more than what your machine can handle, and winching in, if you make use of snatch blocks or positioning your tractor in such a way that you're not pulling directly against stumps, or you're not pulling against any kind of an obstruction that will break your winch line or strip the chain on your winch. If you're using your head when you're working, this kind of a setup right here can put a lot of wood out to the road for you in a day. And I've had days I've put pretty much a tandem truckload of logs to the road in a day using one of these. So I mean, that's $1,500–1,600 in production in a day. Nothing to snort at. So yeah, that's what we use. And that is the end of this video. Thank you.